Yung wala. Cheap.
Yung wala. Diba? Kasi if we have our class 3s out for no apparent reason, right? What kind of message does that send? Right? If I think correctly, right? I'm gonna look at you. I'm gonna think. What did I do? Right? So when we don't really need our class 3s, let's throw it in our glove box. But if we do know we're rolling out, right? Maglalakad tayo wherever, right? May chance na malakpick yung vehicle, which is true, and it happens, right? We just bring our weapons with us, right? Those are the times that we need to bring it out. What I mean by this entire section is we need to be wary of what our vehicle is, right? We need to be wary of the assets available to us and how we use them, right? We don't need our class threes all the time. We don't, right? At any given point, I can look to my other officer and say, "Hey, you go non-lethal. I'll get my class 3." Right? Because sometimes you'll hear me go over the radio and I say, "Oscar 66 rifle deployed." Right? That's one of the reasons, or the one of the ways that we can, choose to go about things smartly, right? And the concept of what your vehicle is, right? That vehicle is basically your lifeline. You patrol in that vehicle. To quote Michael Pena, he says, "In patrol, police work is about comfortable footwear. You need to be, you need to be okay with the fact that you're probably going to be standing there doing radar somewhere, you know, for a couple of hours because I've been doing that since 10 p.m. this morning, right? So me and Chris here, this meeting, this training is about building the patrol force, right? I said to Cap Zoe many times,
User joined your channel.
I keep telling her, find a good sergeant, right? Why? The sergeant handles manpower, right? The sergeant, assigns you sectors, assigns you a buddy, make sure, what class threes do you have in your cage or in your shop, right? That's what the duty of the sergeant is. He's the supervisor. He's the watch commander, right? We won't roll out, not knowing and saying, "Hey, ikaw, tara, patrol tayo," right? Without a clear goal, right? Because what's gonna happen? You're parang tanod, right? You don't have a sector to patrol. That's it for me. Does anybody have any questions so far, or anything to add, rather? No one.
Okay.
Okay, Chen.
Quadrants.
1041.
Oh, quadrants.
Yep.
So,
Cruz, you want to elaborate on that?
I mean, yes, we must assign quadrants, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
We agree.
Sarge, do you have
And
anything to add?
unions. About the unions,
well,
sir,
what
Cruz,
do
to
you mean
with
by designated patrol? You mean like a patrol around, like for example, uh,
Designated area
South
ata.
Los
near Grove
Santos.
Street? Yeah.
Yeah, downtown.
Yeah.
Yeah, stuff like that, right? To have your patrol team focused on different areas, right?
Not scattered
Um,
all over the place.
yeah. So to make it more efficient, right? Departments use, kasi anong sinasabi natin sa department natin, right? Let's say my call sign Oscar 66 plus 1, right? Lagging plus 1, lagging plus 2, right? It's a little bit inefficient. Why? Because I don't know what your actual identifier is, right? So another thing that supervisors do, right, is when you're assigned your sector, right, you're assigned your buddy, you are assigned a call sign, a
User
unified
left
call
your
sign.
channel.
So it's either Union 1, Union 2, Car 1, Car 2, right? It varies which department. But what is this, right? So for example, Chen and I, right, if we're Union 1, imagine the Union 1 above our heads.
User disconnected
right?
from your channel.
My call sign is Oscar 66. Hill's call sign is Oscar 88. We equal to Union 1. Okay? And the supervisor knows that, right? Or so-called dispatch, right? So it's already given. I don't need to say plus 1, because that plus 1
User
can be
joined
Chan,
your
that
channel.
plus 1 can be Cap Zoe or Ezekiel, right? It's a constant state of guessing who's who in that call, right? the supervisor must know where his guys are because he's in charge of them. And quite frankly, it's like they're his kids, right,
Yeah.
Serge?
Yeah.
Kasi ikaw yung in charge, right?
User
So,
joined your channel.
can everybody feel or naranasan niyo ba yung nagsabi sila ng call sign nila +1, right? Alam niyo ba
Mhm.
agad kung sino yun,
I'm not. No,
Yeah,
syempre.
exactly. No.
No, we
Right?
check the blip.
Exactly, right? I literally have a physical clipboard on me right now, and I can write down who's union and who are they, what they have, where they are, right? Kasi I can literally write down here Union 1, one rifle, one shotgun, Oscar 66, Oscar 88, District 1, right? So I know their capability, I know who they are, I know where they are.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
so that's pretty much that. Um, for the standard, actually quick glance now over the discipline, right?
Yeah.
But Chan here is gonna go over what we need to practice more than anything, which is communication, right?
Yeah.
Communication everywhere. So Chan,
Yep. Thank you, Officer Cruz, again. For those of you that don't know me, I'm Officer Chris Chan. And again, like what Cap said on the email, no, this is just a refresher training, just a refresher because I'm sure we've all read the SOP and our handbook because, like the handbook says, it's the Bible for us, right? And just like what Officer Cruz mentioned, these are just merely suggestions. You know, we want what's best for the department. Recently, Officer Cruz and myself were cadets, and we did ride-alongs where
User left your
we were
channel.
evaluated, and you know, shortly after that, we've also done ride-alongs with other cadets where, you know, so what I'm saying is we've done ride-alongs with people who are higher than us and people who are the same rank as us, and so I think it's still pretty fresh in our head how the experience was, and you know, we just want to speak up about that, just in case there's some things that you guys, anything that we can share to you guys. So first things first, I would like to say, you know, obviously, we want to make sure we familiarize ourselves with the 10 codes. If you're not,
User
then,
joined your
you know,
channel.
as much as possible, just try to use basic terms, you know, traffic stop, high risk stop, robbery, armed robbery, just so it's easier because it's all about efficiency, like what Officer Cruz said. No. And at the same time, just because we are enforcing the law, that doesn't mean that we are under the law as well, right? Because obviously, we've had 1038s or traffic stops where, you know, someone might say, "Hey, why are you driving this particular way?" So you know, just keep that in mind as well. A couple of things that I wanted to talk about particularly is RTO, so radio traffic. I feel like we need to practice active listening. And what I mean by that is, you know, while you're in a traffic stop talking to your civilian or your citizen, you're still listening on the radio in case, you know, there's another incident where they need backup. And I feel like everyone in our department, you know, whether it's LSPD, BC, so I think we have been doing a great job at that because we're pretty quick when it comes to responding. So I just want to commend everybody with that, right? The only thing, if I could add to that, is what I have, or you know, what Officer Cruz and I had in other cities is what we call the 2 or the 3 second rule. Because what happens is
User
on
joined your
RTO,
channel.
when people are talking, you know, somebody overlaps and it turns out that whoever's louder gets hurt, and then the one that's not as loud doesn't get hurt. So I would say, you know, just wait a couple of seconds before speaking. I know that every situation is, you know, important. If you're in a car chase or if you're in a traffic stop, it's important to communicate that, but it's also important to wait a couple of seconds before,
User
you know,
joined your
saying that
channel.
to RTO, so at least you know that you're not stopping someone from saying anything. And I guess another with that is repeating your postal when you need assistance. So
User
obviously when
joined your
we ask
channel.
for backup, you know, just remind them what your postal is so that the person that's going to respond knows where to go. And
so in here in
Can
the
you give an
city,
example
we
when
don't
you say
have
postal?
so we don't have postals here, like postal codes for each
oh yeah,
area.
not city,
Mhm.
Yeah.
streets.
Yeah, landmark, right? So let's say, hey, I'm on this street, east side of this building by the taco shop, right? Make it simpler, make it clear, guide us to where you are, you know, because sometimes I'm driving, right, and I can't look at the map and know where I'm going immediately, right? So what I can do, or what you can do as the person who's calling for backup, is guide us where you are,
Yeah.
right?
make it easier for us to know where exactly it is.
This is Romeo 68 to
You know,
dispatch
so at least
going
it's
1041.
precise, right? So I guess that's a good example for that. Thank you, Officer Cruz. And then there are some people who just tend to cop bait. So I'm guessing, you know, as far as priorities, you know, obviously you want to respond to everything, but just know when to respond to a priority or when to kind of disregard it and say, hey, just so that everyone knows, there's, you know, someone doing donuts in this area. I, you know, kind of spoke to them already and they don't want to listen, or, you know, I tried ticketing them and they're just doing the same thing over and over again. So just, I guess, communicate that with the whole squad so that everyone's, you know, aware. And when you're doing that traffic stop, you know, what Officer Cruz and myself tend to do is we make sure to introduce ourselves and be professional. You know, one of us, when we were both, patrolling together, we made sure that one of us would run the plates before the other one approaches, or at least while we're approaching. So then at least we're not wasting any time. You know, if Officer Cruz was approaching the person in the car, you can be
User
sure that
left
I'm
your
already there
channel.
running plates and telling him, hey, you know, this plate isn't registered or it's registered to this person and that person. You want to be prepared and call in, because if you think that it's going to turn into a high risk stop, I'm sure with the experience that you guys all have, you can kind of already tell that, oh, you know what? I pulled up his information. Looks like he has tickets for speeding or evading arrests. Then already call in for backup and just say, hey, you know, we might need backup at this location, blah, 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 blah. So at least we know. If it turns into a code 5 stop, you know, ask for that backup before anything else, and stay calm and always try to de-escalate the situation, because, you know, like,
With that, Officer Chan,
Sorry, could you
yeah,
explain code 5 just in case?
right. So, partner, you want to take what
yeah,
code 5
so
is? Yeah.
code 5 stop is basically just the high risk stop. So let's say if you were doing, like me and Officer Cruz, when we did a 1038 and we found out that the car's been, you know, reported doing high races, or it's had a, you know, the license has a
A
bolo on it,
bolo, yeah, or a
then
warrant.
that would warrant a code 5 stop. And so I know that, hey, you know, this person has a history of being aggressive or violent. I might need backup, because, you know, who knows
So
what would happen.
there's really is anybody here familiar with the felony stuff? Ezekiel, I know you're familiar with the felony stuff, right?
Yes, you.
Right.
I just watch a
So
lot of movies.
yeah, so it's does anybody here have any experience with the code 5 stuff or felony stuff at all?
Training. Sa training lang.
Yes, we've done felony stuff.
Right.
The training.
So there really is just two types of stops really for patrol. It's the normal traffic stop, and then you have your high risk stop.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Not counting the vehicle interdiction, because the vehicle interdiction shall not be spoken of, because it's way
Of
too
course.
violent.
But yeah, so
And
with the high risk stop, obviously you just want to make sure that the primary officer that's first on scene, when if you're backup and you're arriving on scene for a high risk stop, then, you know, our goal is to just prevent
User left
any
your
danger
channel.
happening to the officer and to the suspect, right? So you're not gonna park directly behind the officer that's, you know, that's confronting the suspect, but you're gonna park, you know, to the left or to the right, because you want to make sure that we've got all eyes on the person.
yeah,
Primary
might wanna
officer.
check the just do the 1080 comms. Code 5 comes later.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Sure.
Alright, so, ganito sir.
Ah.
So, hindi dapat talaga magpapark akong back up.
Right,
Kung
so
paano nasa highway kami. Nasa
right, so
highway
that's so it's for the code 5 stop, right?
Yeah.
What Officer Chan was telling, you know, when you park to the left or to the right, that's for the code 5, right?
That's just for
So
high risk.
obviously for normal traffic stop, right, it's just a traffic stop. It's not gonna get violent, right?
Right.
It shouldn't be. But if it's a code 5 stop, even if it's on the highway, you know, a code 5 stop essentially blocks everything.
It's a high risk.
Yeah, you're creating a line. But that's for later. But
Yeah.
we really want to talk about issue 1080.
Yeah. So
1080
with
vectors.
communication with 1080, you know, because yesterday Officer Cruz and myself had an experience with the 1080. I would just like to say that, you know, if you're primary or secondary, make sure you're taking call outs. If you're going to pass the officer or the patrol car in front of you, make sure you ask permission, or don't pass them unless they crash. If they crash out of pursuit, then yeah, go ahead and pass them. If you feel like your car is faster and you can chase the guy more and be right behind them, then ask for permission. Don't just pass, because again, right? Some cars are slow, some cars are fast. So I always like to make sure to leave at least the 2 car space in between cars, so that you don't risk hitting each other. I don't want to hit the person in front of me. I don't want to get hit behind me, because then again the guy's just gonna escape. And a lot of times when they do escape is we're hitting each other. So I feel like if we were to at least have a car space in between, whether it's 2 or 3 cars, then that would avoid the collision, and that would make our chase more efficient.
Right.
Um,
Adding to that, right? How many of us here have crashed in a 1080? Right. I know I have one. Right.
Nope.
Everybody here has crashed in a 1080 at some point. Right.
Yeah.
So what do you do if you crash? Simple. Stay fucking still. For
Yep.
5 seconds, look around if the guys are still chasing. Because most of the times the crashes that happen is because you had just immediately crashed or previously crashed, and then you try to get back in the chase again. Not gonna
Yes.
go well, especially if you're primary.
Yeah.
If you crash and you're primary, you're pretty much not the primary anymore most
Yep.
times,
So-
because you're already gone.
Yeah, to summarize that, if you crash, wait for other units to pass you before you reattach. Because there's no point in you, because your car stalls, right? And then it slows down. So if you're going to start driving it, then you're just going to hit everybody, and then it becomes a clusterfuck. Do you want to add anything to that, Cruz, for the 1080?
Nah, not much.
Okay,
Aside
how
from
about-
actual training on the 1080, just a reminder for
User
the
joined your
supervisors,
channel.
which are the sergeants, seniors, don't be afraid to terminate a pursuit. If it's getting ridiculously stupid, and it's gonna endanger our lives, the suspects' lives, and more locals and civilians' lives. Right?
Yeah.
Like for example, a garbage truck going fucking Mach 2 on the highway, right? 300 miles an hour. Sure, we can keep chasing it, but the moment it goes to residential neighborhood, right? If we try chasing him through that, it's only gonna make him want to go faster and stupider,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
right? Maybe I don't know, a black or green jugular going 280 in a residential neighborhood. Supervisor's call if he wants to keep chasing it, right? And
Mhm.
obviously we want to give them, the chase, right? It's in our SOPs. We always want to chase them. We don't even breach most of the times because we want to chase. We need
User
to
joined your
chase.
channel.
But it doesn't mean that we're gonna let ourselves get caught into a trap, which will lead, in turn, officers dying.
Right. And make sure you follow the unit in front of you, okay? If you're primary, then you follow the suspect. But if you're not primary, don't follow the suspect. Follow the car in front of you so that you don't hit them. Because, if you're chasing the suspect, you might just hit other cop cars as well.
Yeah, can I add on something?
Yes, sir.
Sure.
Yeah, because I was suggesting this before, and uh, it was like an experience for me. Almost
User left your
all the
channel.
chase that we had, we are only doing single file line.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So when
Mhm.
the what you call this, the primary crash,
Right.
the secondary also crash with them.
Right. So.
Not if you have 2 or 3 car
Yeah.
spaces in between. That's why I said when
Yeah,
you're in a
yeah,
pursuit,
that's
don't
why
be
I'm
right behind the
suggesting also
person.
before that if we have like 1080, we can do it like a double file line or
Right. The
Alright.
staggered column. Right. So it doesn't always have to be single file line. The point is you're not gonna overtake if you don't
Right.
ask for it.
Yeah.
Right. You're following. Same rule still applies. You're following the car, in front of you. With that said, right, in a pursuit we have our primary, secondary, and tertiary. Everybody else, right, you're gonna parallel the chase. Tama? Para hindi
Mhm.
masyadong mahaba yung pursuit line natin. Right? That's what you should do. Why? Because you can box your suspects in. Make sure you coordinate though. Now while we're on the topic of the 1080, right? How many of you here have been in the 1080 and somebody goes over radio and says, let's say Oscar 66 10-4 or sorry 10-8 while you're in a pursuit, right? Me personally, a little part of me gets a little bit angry when that happens, right? Because we're in the 1080, right? Does everybody know what signal 100 is?
Me,
Yeah, go ahead.
and that's the don't radio when it's not emergency.
Right.
So
Emergencies
yeah,
traffic only. Right.
yeah,
In a 1080, that's pretty much always the standard. You're not gonna talk unless it's about the 1080, right? So, yes, ma'am.
I wanted to talk about a certain scenario.
Yep.
Kunwari, yung last night, what went wrong
Yeah.
and how, we should address it,
Right.
the car chase last night.
Okay.
So, in regards to the car chase, it's really just the comms. You know, it when you're the primary. I know for a fact. Chan and we can drive in a car separately and be in a primary position and keep comms while driving, right, by ourselves. Not all of us can do that. Now, if you can, make sure you keep up comms, right? Don't say, "Hey, they're heading north." Okay, do you have eyes on them? Yeah, they're heading north. Okay, then I'm gonna assume that you have eyes. But what's gonna happen is they really don't. Right? What my point here is, hindi ko gustong habain, right?
User joined your channel.
Gusto ko lang sabihin, keep it simple, keep it stupid, right? Hey, they're heading north. I have eyes. Hey, they're heading right through the garage, past 24/7. Comms on 1080s don't need to be long,
Right.
right?
And
But
I think what happened yesterday
yeah.
too was the people didn't even say that they couldn't see the suspect anymore. Right.
Yeah,
So
there's a
like,
lot of dead air. Tama ba?
Yeah.
Nung,
Dead air. A 1080 should not be
Mhm.
quiet. If a 1080 is quiet, somebody just died.
right. And I feel like there's a reason why there's two people in the patrol car, right? If you're primary and you're driving, the person with you should be
User
taking
left
comms.
your
If,
channel.
if you're driving by yourself and you're in an interceptor and you're chasing, then secondary, you should take the responsibility and say, hey, you know what? I'll take comms because I can see the person. If you're third or fourth in
Mhm.
line and you're taking comms and you're saying, hey, left, hey, you're taking a right, that's kind of, that'll be delayed because you're not the first car that's right behind the suspect, right? So if you're secondary, just take initiative and say, hey, you know what? I'll take comms because, I know everyone likes the thrill of chasing, but then if we don't have the comms to communicate it, then the chase just gets frustrating because other people just don't know where
User
to go,
joined your channel.
right?
Right. Yes, ma'am.
Also,
Yes, Cap.
for primary, can we make it a rule that you have to have a buddy? Kasi I believe yesterday the primary did not have
Yeah.
one.
Interceptor.
Kasi not everyone has the same skills. Obviously, we're
Yeah.
all different. Hindi lahat kaya mag-comms while driving. So, we should just have a buddy all the time.
Yeah. I mean,
Yes.
so with that said, that's more of like an interceptor SOP now. So if you're
Uh-huh,
an
yes.
interceptor unit, always have a buddy. Otherwise, don't be a fucking interceptor. Right? Because that's just an SOP at that point, which is actually a good idea.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, the point is make sure your comms are good, no dead air.
Yep.
Right.
And-
If you don't have eyes, just say, "Hey, we're code 6. They're
Mhm.
last seen northbound."
Yeah, and it's important when someone says, like break, break, break. I mean, something's probably happening if they're saying break, break, break. So that just means take a break and, listen now to hear what the person has to say. Because I think yesterday I heard Officer Cruz himself say break, break, break like twice, and people just kept, talking to each other, and someone that's attaching to the 1080 won't even know what's going on because it's pretty chaotic, right?
Right.
So again, let's just try to make it clear, concise, precise, and easy to communicate with each other.
Right. In terms of when, like I said earlier, the discipline when we go out and patrol, in regards to our equipment, our vehicle, anything in regards to what we do, take it with a grain of seriousness, right? Don't if we're in a negotiation, right, or we're in a situation where lights are on, guns are out, it's game time. Tell me that it's not frustrating to hear somebody laugh on the radio, right? Or try to negotiate while laughing. It's not a it's not fun.
Laughing on the radio.
Laughing on the radio. Sure, yeah, there's time and place for it. God knows I've done it most of the times. But if the units are in a bank robbery, right, and it's a game time, if you're negotiating, just do us all a favor and just don't laugh or take it with a grain of seriousness. right? And all of us are here, and we have varied levels of fun. But when we're in a situation where this is serious, and you'll know it's serious, right?
Actually,
Just
they can laugh, but not over the radio.
yeah, obviously, yeah. You know,
Mm-hmm.
respect r- respect yourself, respect the guy you're talking to, respect the guy right beside, right?
Mhm.
It it's an entire thing that we can keep going over and over. But the two main takeaways here are one, the duties of a supervisor, which is going to be trained, I guess, in future times, right, Cap?
Mm-hmm.
So with that, duties of a supervisor, duties of a patrol guy, right, and comps.
Yep. Yeah, but I think everyone's doing a great job though. So,
Yeah, they are.
again, not that you're not. It's just there's always room to improve. But as far as responding, that's definitely a skill of everyone on the LSPD and PCSO. I think we all respond pretty quickly. But if we can, better our, communication, then why not, right?
So with this, Cap, I guess for today we won't be training up on the 1038s and code 5s, but rather I'd like to get acquainted with the
User left your
supervisors and
channel.
then let them know the ritual, I guess, before every patrol, if that's
Okay.
okay with you.
User joined
Yep.
your
Okay.
channel.
So if all these supervisors could follow me and Chan to the other room over there in the briefing room, we're just gonna talk for a little bit. Um, and the rest of you guys just stay on standby in the station. BCSO, whatever you guys need to do, just go ahead and do it. And if you guys need us, we're on radio.
So thank you so much for hearing
Yeah,
us
thanks
out.
guys.
Thanks, Cap. Thank you,
All
everybody.
right. Thank you.
Yeah. So all the supervisors meet us in the other room.
Maybe you can also include the supervisors from
Yeah,
BCSO.
BCSO.
Oh yeah, of course.
Whoever.
Nice. Cap, do you have anything to say first before everybody moves, or?
Oy, Frank ka ba yan,
ano-
Frank?
Yeah, Cap. We'll just talk to the supervisors. But the other ones that are patrolling, I don't know if you want to tell them anything.
All right. I guess. Sino ba? Ezekiel, come here. Teka lang, wag muna kayo malis. Ezekiel, come here, right in front.
Miss,
Cap's just
Yeah,
gonna
you. Come here.
advise. Talk to
Wow.
them.
bonus. Sakto, di ko na ako bonus ko.
Can you recite the Miranda rights properly?
Miranda rights.
Yeah.
All the supervisors in the room.
Tagalog and English.
You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say and do can and will be used against you in any court of law. You have the right to an attorney if you can afford one. One will be appointed to you if there's one available in the state of Los Santos. You understand your rights, sir?
All right, Tagalog.
Ikaw may karapatang manahimik kung sa walang kabuuan man yung sabihin o gawin ni maaaring gamitin pabor o laban sa sa anumang hukuman. Ikaw pero may karapatan kung walang ambogado ang iyong pinili. At kung wala kang kakayahan, pagkakalob to ng pamahalan kung meron man.
Rapper yata ito eh.
Naintindihan mo yung karapatan mo, Kap.
All right, congratulations. You're finally an officer.
Oh,
Wow.
Show your badge.
Holy
Bang.
shit, pag nang reaction yun ng pot.
Holy shit.
Bang.
Tara na, tara na.
Bang.
All right, sige na.
Ibalik na ulit.
Wala na.
Tanggalin mo
Kailangan
na
na
yan.
ako.
Anyone? Sino ba gusto Ito si
Ako,
Frank Paul.
Sila daw po, recruit.
Ano ikaw?
Ang si Frank.
Mamaya bonus.
Maybe
Sir Iggy, sumama mo ko sa ano? Lakan.
senior officer.
Puro, kunin ko lang. Gayahin ko lang yung patchigan sa gilid.
I'm just gonna edit something in
User joined your channel.
Tapos kap siguro yung iba magkano na lang ng patrol na.
Hindi ako may kasama eh. Nag-alis na ako, nabilis ako.
Ano yun, sir?
Ang si Mama.
Ayan,
Wala rin, sir eh.
dito, huy.
Ito, dito. Wala pa, hindi pa naman naayos yung ano eh, sa union eh. Kaya,
Ayun, yun.
Suggestion lang ata yun.
Tara, plus one.
Sir, pwede pa hawag na shotgun mo.
Gamitan.
Madala ka bang access dun, Frank?
Lado.
Gusto ko lang mahawakan yung shotgun ni sir eh.
Ano nang ano mo?
Ano mo kay Pasko ah?
Officer ko.
Henry?
Dan por?
Paranggong.
Ano?
Senior officer.
Tara sa taas.
115? Okay then.
Some about your Sarge.
Negative na. Senior officer kailangan.
Senior officer si ano rin. Pangalan nito.
Darin?
Si Douglas.
Wait lang.
Si Douglas.
Isa lang kailangan eh. Gusto mo ba ikaw o siya na lang?
Ay, ako na.
Dito tawag tayo.
You do it on me.
So you want to discuss sectors already?
Right, yeah. Just give me a second.
Tara, sama tayo dito.
Oh my. You're about an 80.
How the heck do we have a hold up in a robbery at 1080 already?
Nice. Okay, so, alright, is everybody here? Supervisors, senior officers?
LT still outside with Cap.
Yep. Give me a second.
822 plus 1, 76 to latest robbery.
We're just missing captains and lieutenant.
Explosion. Asan
May
yung mga officer
1031
na
din
pwede
tayo.
pumunta? Hindi, sila Lado. Pwede silang pumunta doon.
User left your channel.
Hindi pala.
Lipat tayo sa
User
kabila.
left your channel.
I'm sorry.
Pasko. Responde kayo dun sa ano. Pasko Lado.
Ano?
Responde
Ano
kayo
ba
sa
talaga?
explosion.
Ano yan? Wait lang eh. Nilalapitan ko, medyo maliit eh.
Everybody here? Don't pay attention to that. That doesn't matter. So, what am I talking about earlier when it regards to duties ng supervisor, right? So, do we all here have, pen, paper somewhere? Or a notepad or something?
Yeah.
Yes.
Right. So, this is probably the most important tool that the supervisor can have, right? So, senior officers, you guys are in the field, right? So, with a buddy, right? You're patrolling. You're the senior most officer in the field. Now, the sergeant, right? So, for example, me and Chan, right?
Let's
We're
go to
Union 1.
76
right?
latest 1080.
So you assign us as Union 1, you write us down as Union 1, right? And then you're gonna write down, right, what unit are we? So for example, we're patrol, right? That's what we are. Okay? So Union 1, Romeo
Let's go to
66, and
610 to
Romeo
1080
88,
for now to go to 6.
patrol. Right? And then you're gonna list down whatever you need to do. So for example, you know that we're packing a shotgun and an AR or a carbine rifle, right? You write it down as such, right? So when it comes to the sectors, I'll pull it up here. Give me a second.
Robbery is code 4.
Maybe we transfer to
Please
code
be
pocket.
on the lookout for a color brown Caracara with
Right.
4 individuals
So
who's
if
wearing a
everybody
black
looks
mask.
on your map, can you guys see the map?
Copy that.
So if you look on your map right now, we are in downtown Los Santos, right? So on the west side of the canal, think of the highways as the box, right? And I'm trying to edit this, but I'm too stupid to figure out how to do it. Sector 1, right? You can just call it downtown. It's this box right here, right? It's the box that we're in. That's sector 1. Now you can label your sectors however you want to as of now, right? You can just say, hey, patrol by Burger Shop, or hey, patrol by Pacific Bank. Stuff like that works, right? Just so you know which sector they're in, for now, because I haven't done the map yet. Okay? So my point here is, let's say, hey, Union 1, okay, you guys need to go to this area, right? Sarge, not even just the Sarge, the LT or the senior officers. You guys are the most senior here in the room. This is your job as well, right? You need to make sure that you guys are on point with this, because this is what the backbone of the patrol force is, right? Don't just go out saying, hey, let's go patrol. Okay, patrol what? Right? So, does anybody want to add anything to this, Lieutenant Sarge?
How about we think
Yes,
of a
sir.
name and already list them up? Like the
Right.
Union want something.
Yeah. So Union One, that can be car one, car two, right? It depends on how you want to do it.
Yeah.
Personally, Union, it's just easier, right? Or car one, car two,
Yeah.
right? It's
Usually they
really
use if
yeah.
you're in the same department, like it's car one, car two,
Yeah.
because there are instances where BCSO and LSPD would work together, and
Yeah.
that's
What
when
about
you're considered in
let's
union.
utilize the numbers from
Yes, sir.
the
Yeah.
cruisers.
So
From the
the
cruiser,
other
yeah.
the other idea that Chan and I came
Yeah.
up with was instead of Union one, car two, we would name it. So let's say my car, right? It's 66. So it's car 66.
Yeah. So
I
No,
whoever's
think the
like
driving
chief
will
had
keep
a
driving.
idea, diba? Sabi niya platoon 1, platoon 2.
So
like no. Wait.
yeah,
Excuse me.
platoon is different though, so it's weird.
How about V1 or V6 to 6? Thank you.
Wait.
Indicate.
Sa new cruisers natin, we have two numbers, right? One
Yes.
of
Right.
one on the roof and one of the
Yes.
trunk. So
Correct.
what if your call sign is in the roof, right?
Right.
How about
So that's the thing, sir.
we write
Sometimes
numbers on the trunk, like cruiser 1, cruiser 2, cruiser 3, then
right, sir. So here's the thing, kasi normally in departments, right, the
Mhm.
trunk is just 32, right? So when you ask for additional 32s, which is backup 10 code for most other departments, all cars with 32s roll out to that
we can
roll
change
there.
the number.
Right. So the problem here is sometimes on our cruisers on the roof, I know for a fact mine, the mechanic can't even change the color. It's white. You can barely read it on the roof. I think Chan has the same problem too, and all the other officers. So the numbers there are a little bit less reliant with what we've noticed. But I definitely like the idea of, for example, the number on the trunk of my car is
Utilizing that,
66. Yeah. So when you say car 66 and the supervisor comes up to your car and sees that it's numbered 66, right? That's their call sign, and
Yep.
you already know who's in there.
And you know who's driving, and because the whole reason for it is
Yes, ma'am.
just to
I think it's only gonna work at the start. Pero we all know every after car chase, cruiser, wala na ako impound. So, naiba na naman yung vehicle.
Oh, I see what you're saying also. Well, that makes sense.
Most people, they
Right.
ask me
So
for
it's a
car.
matter of organization. It's a matter of organization, really. So after a 1080, okay, you need to be accountable for your vehicle, right? So if somebody 1050s or gets in a motor vehicle accident while on 1080, that vehicle, that's his problem now, right? And our priorities should never really differ or differentiate from our officers, right? If let's say, hey, there's a suspect getting away, but we have 10 officers down, prioritize the officers, because that's already a mass casualty incident, right? Or after the 1080, hey, Cap, my cruiser broke down. Okay, which cruiser is it? Sergeant takes note of it and says, okay, we'll get you help and we'll get you to a mechanic, whatever we need to do, right? But at no point, this comes down to the discipline, like what I said earlier. Our guys need to be accountable for their vehicles. Car 66, whatever, right? The sergeant, he rolls up and then he says, okay, how can we fix this? Okay, because then again, that's the commissioned officer's job. Right, is to maintain his guys, his manpower. The lieutenant, Sir Jaime, does pretty much the same thing, but on a much larger scale. Like he worries about, hey, BCSO, I need you guys here. My guys are in trouble. Right? It goes up the chain, and the responsibilities, get larger. They don't, fall under the microscope, right? So, for example, as an officer, I worry about the cadet. As a senior officer, I worry about the officers, right? As a sergeant, I worry about all my other officers, etc., etc. Right? So with that, I want to ask, how are we gonna do the call signs? I'm in favor of the car call sign or the union one. So I don't know
I'll
which
go
one
with the
you
car
guys
call
want.
sign.
Right. That's
Maybe
two for car call sign.
car the number, right?
Yeah. So car 88, car 66, car 72. Right.
We
Whatever identifier
Which-
is on
Actually,
there.
we
Is it
can
still-
use patrol 1, patrol 2, right?
Yeah, so we can.
much better.
Yes, sir. So it's pretty much the same thing as Car 1, Car 2, Union 1, Union 2.
Yeah,
right?
it's just the name.
The name
is,
just changes. Yeah.
Can I suggest
So
something
User
though?
joined your
Yeah.
channel.
You know, what I would recommend to, because it is kind of like a big change as far as what everyone's
Right.
used to.
Can you shout, Chris?
Oh, I was gonna say, we can always try to
User disconnected from your channel.
do it for
User joined your
just have
channel.
2 patrol cars. Like we can do a test unit where we would have we'll do whatever the regular is, and then we'll just have 2 people say, hey, you guys today, I want you to be patrol 1 or patrol 2, just to see if it works, because it's kind of like a
I mean,
it's like
so
a trial
that's the,
basis,
that,
it's
so
a
that's
hit
the
and
thing.
miss.
We have. I mean, we can do it for our LSPD guys since we have such a large amount, and so I'm in favor of the car 88, car 66 call sign, because the pro of it, with almost no con, is we know we can see the identifier, right, and we don't need to change it per day, right? So sometimes we say patrol 1, okay, who's patrol 1 for today, right? But if we say car 66, you and you, right? We know who the car belongs to already, right? We know who his partner is. So that's my that's what I see from it. If anyone wants to say something about it, because I'm in
So
favor
once
of it.
they
Yep.
change cars, for example, car 66, you're about to go 1042, so it'll be Oscar 88. So it'll now be car 88.
So whatever is on the car, right? So
Okay.
if I am the supervisor, I see this guy just went 1042, and I have one officer without a partner, right? Obviously, he's gonna be using his own vehicle, right? And if he doesn't have a partner, he's now just, guess what, Oscar 88,
User left your channel.
right? But he can still be, not car, but just Oscar 88. So we know he's alone. He's not with anybody else. He's a solo ride for the day, you know. So it's a little bit flexible too, if you think about it. I say instead of us figuring out, we need to manage it. Okay, this guy's not patrol 1 anymore. What is he? We can just go off of the call signs already there, visible to us.
Yeah, okay, I guess we can start today. Kung
Okay.
kaya. And if ever car chase sana training,
Yes, sir. Roger.
Oh yeah.
what do you think? Kasi
Maybe
there's a lot of us.
So we can, but the thing about that is, we definitely could.
We can use
yeah.
that.
I know a mechanic who's awake, so I can have him
Right.
Yeah.
here and just have
Well,
him on standby.
I was gonna say, so with
See,
with
okay,
if you're
so
going
if-
1042.
So if everybody break. So can everybody hear what the cadet just said on the radio? He said his call sign and the other
Plus.
officer. Yeah, he didn't even say
Oh,
plus.
I
he
didn't
said
hear.
and.
Wait, was it?
So he said and the call sign. So it's longer, right? It's a longer transmission. So instead of just saying, hey, car 97 going 76 to Harmony Mech Shop, a lot shorter. Right? So if everybody agrees, what we can do is we can just call our LSPD guys, and like what I said, this is the ritual, right? Prior to every patrol, once let's say I've been here the whole day, and then we get 6 people. I'll do a recall. We do a briefing. Okay, here's the game plan. Here's the bolos we have. Here's the warrants we have. Okay, then we start assigning our sectors. That's the ritual, and it's just gonna make us a lot more disciplined department if we have this in place, if everybody agrees. Because obviously you guys have a lot more experience being here in the department. Chan and I just got here,
Yeah.
kind of.
Won't
So
make too many change. But I just want to say that when it comes to people going, 1042 or 107, let's say if me and Cruz are both, Oscar 88, and I'm getting up and he's still staying on, I feel like it's his responsibility to tell the sergeant or the ELT and say, hey, we're disbanding. I'm gonna be by myself now, or
Yeah.
I'm gonna be riding with so and so. Our call sign's gonna be this. Our call sign's gonna be that. So at least, because we don't want LTs or sergeants or senior officers chasing around, other officers and being like, oh, what's going on? Because you're not telling me what's going on. So I feel like we should also tell our officers that they have the responsibility to also just communicate
Inform.
and say, hey, we're disbanding. I'm riding with this person now, or I'm just gonna be solo riding. And then if the sergeant says,
User
yeah,
left
sure,
your
go
channel.
ahead, then at least they can update, your guys' paperwork because
User
we
in
want to
your
make sure it's
channel
easy
timed
for you
out.
guys too, and not too complicated.
Right. Because, with that said, for example, we're disbanding. I say, hey, Sierra, blah blah blah, car 66, going 10-7, 66, staying on duty. And then you can say, okay, you can ride alone. Okay, I'll update, and then it goes up the chain, obviously. So the point here is it's communication, right? Does anybody have any objections to this,
User
or
in your channel
anybody
timed
that
out.
wants to add, or any concerns?
Yes, wag lang mahiyang maki-ride along kung mag-isa ka na lang.
Right. So you need to have a vehicle of your own, right? Because obviously you're already an officer. You're not a cadet that we need to worry about, right? If it's just you, right? Because we're only going to be rolling in twos to make it clear, right? Hopefully that's going to be the standard, because riding in the back in the cage with the suspects isn't really that professional, right? Because that's why we have a cage in the vehicle, to not have
User
an officer
joined
in
your
danger
channel.
in the back. So if there's an influx, or if there's another cadet that can be transferred around, the sergeant needs to make sure that, or sergeant, senior officer needs to make sure that he's on point with that and saying, hey, cadet, you go with this guy, you guys are now car 88. That you're no longer Oscar 88, you're now car 88.
All right.
Does anybody have any other questions so we can brief our guys?
And everyone's okay with that though?
I'm good.
All
I'm
on the
good.
same
Yeah.
page.
Okay.
Is
Okay.
everybody okay with it? Okay.
Yep.
Cap or LT, you guys want to call back the LSPD to the downstairs in the garage? We'll do a roll call and we'll start assigning. Sergeant, do you want to assign them? Yeah, sure. Roger. Okay. Yeah, Chan and I are gonna be car 66 because our stuff's already in
User
my
joined
vehicle.
your channel.
Lima 92 to dispatch, I want all
User
units on the
joined your
garage.
channel.
Roger. All right, let's go.
I think
Oo po. Kasi may ka-petrocopyo.
10-9.
All LSPD units,
User joined
go
your
to
channel.
PD garage ASAP.
10-4.
10 for Lieutenant.
Which one? Yeah. Oh. Yeah. This paint skills of this guy is not.
Lieutenant.
I'm
Hello?
Okay.
Lieutenant. Lieutenant. Narinig mo ba ako, Andre?
rinig kita, Sergeant. Wala pa rin sticker yan, ano? Frank?
Walay, sir.
Si Sarge.
Teka lang.
May sapato. May
Paano yung
pagkain na
nasa...
kayo dyan, ano?
User left your channel.
Pagkain?
Pagkain.
Galing kami sa taco shop kaso inubos na namin eh.
Aba naman yan. Sige, okay lang. Kuha na lang ang donut. O inumin na lang.
Wala din namin dito.
Natawag na yung dalawa, si Pasco tsaka si Ivan.
Nasa Harmony pa.
Yeah.
My AR is still in the car, right?
Search ko wala akong tubig tsaka inumin.
Actually, pwede nga
Sige,
natin
sige.
ano eh.
Oscar 97 and Romeo 80, RTB, MRPG.
Ikaw nga, walang pumapansin. Reklamo kasi yung original eh. Hindi nang paniniwalaan. Dali mo original.
Yes.
Baka pwede magreklamo sa kapwa mo polis.
O sige. Wait lang, babalik ako.
Sige.
Ha? Ika 35, 1076 to nearest store.
User left your channel.
Lemon 92, going down 7 will be off forward.
Let's go to extends still lead.
User left your channel.
Should have them for
Boss, ano?
Alright, LSPD lineup. Officers on the front.
Park it backwards. So it's both a discipline thing and a tactical thing too. So if we need to speed really quickly, you can just go forward.
User joined
So
your
let's
channel.
park our vehicles backward.
Copy that.
Alright, line up, line up. Officers on the front,
You wouldn't really park here.
recruits on the back.
Saan po yung line, Sarge?
Well, go
Ito
on.
na. Sa likod ko na lang ikaw.
Ayun,
Frank.
yan. Sundan nyo na lang kasi yan.
Hindi kasi dyan kasi pagka ano mo, ikot ka pa dyan. Tapos sa kabila mo na lang park, ano, officer pa.
Mega 10.
Oh, ano?
Bati mo na tayo. Bang di pa ako na.
Pasko, sarap ka. Tayo lang natin.
Ay, mga officer lang ba dito?
Officer sa harap. Tsaka sa
Senior pala ako.
Yung senior
Sige,
security
sige
sa
lang, sige lang. Okay lang yun. Okay na yun.
As long as hindi cadets.
Yep.
So, we have 3 cadets.
Yes, sir.
Alright. Cadets, yun na yung mga ano nyo, mga FTO nyo.
Wala pa ata silang assigned FTO,
Wala
sir.
pa yata.
Walang FTO since I think last week pa ata.
Masama na ako, Chip, sa mga
Yeah.
officer.
Okay.
The thing is, sometimes whoever is awake din ang hirap.
Yeah.
Sige.
Ano yun?
Sino yung mga officer dito?
Yan, sa harap
Ito si
lahat.
Pasco, si Daryl, tsaka sino... Ay, Daryl. Sino to?
Ezekiel.
Isa?
Easy.
Ezekiel. Si Easy.
Ezekiel just got promoted today, so.
Okay. Tsaka sino pa isa? May isa pa officer, di ba?
Kaming dalawa po ni Chan.
Lado,
Ayun.
10-7 ba? O 10-42?
Dalawa ni Chan, sir.
Okay. Tingin nyo na lang yung recruits sa mga officers. Then, paano ba to?
Hindi, yung units, the one that, yung sinasabi nila.
Yeah.
Yun nga, 1 car every ano, di ba?
Yeah,
Pairs.
for 2, yeah.
So, ang maglalabas officer ba? officer na lang maglalabas.
User joined your channel.
Then body na lang din. So yung
User joined
tatlong
your
officer, kunin nyo na yung recruits. Ano na kayo, gawa na lang kayo na line doon sa kabila.
Officers, get your cars and then line up right beside them. Yung car, Sarge, kaming dalawa ni Chris car 66 or
okay, sige.
Two class 3s, shotgun and rifle.
I'm with Captain Sarge.
Easy. Ano, kuha ka na ng
Si
isang
Ezekiel
recruit.
sa akin na lang.
Ha?
He just got promoted.
Yeah.
Sa akin na lang yan. Driver ko sa, Interceptor 1 kami.
Okay, sige. Si Pasco na lang.
User joined
Choose ka
your
na lang,
channel.
tsaka si Henry. Choose ka na lang dyan ng recruit doon sa likod.
Kuha na lang ako ng recruit.
Isa.
Doon na lang katapat ko, sir.
Sige, tapos maglabas ka ng ng sasakyan mo, Pasco. Tapos ikaw din.
Kayong dalawa pala ako.
Kunin ko pa sa ano.
Yes, ka.
You
Sa
guys
impound
are
yung
the
akin,
officers,
sige.
so you guys
Sige, tanong mo na lang din sa...
User
break
joined your
apart
channel.
sometimes, if you
Yep,
know what I
correction.
mean. Lagi kayong
Oh, yes,
magka-buddy,
definitely.
so sometimes it's nice to
Roger.
see.
Yeah, we actually broke up earlier.
Yeah, we broke
I
up.
didn't see.
We had
We-
a each.
For a few
Yeah.
minutes?
No,
No.
I've been
It
with
was
other
okay.
people.
Okay,
Yes,
alright,
I've been
good,
cheating
yeah,
on
it's
this
good
guy.
to,
But we just kind of missed each other, so.
yeah.
No homo.
so,
I have socks on. It's not
Yeah,
homo.
me
I have
too.
socks on.
Okay, sino Pasco, sino yung ano mo?
Ako
Kapatid
po,
mo?
Sergeant.
Ano pangalan mo?
Si Cadet Ivan.
Ivan. Pasco Ivan,
Will
you'll
we do the
be...
conversation as well, or
anong
today, or
call
Pwede
sign mo?
naman eh. Yeah, we should. Teka,
Yes,
I'll
ma'am.
just make sure there's a mechanic. Kasi
Okay,
it's
okay.
hard
Ano na?
without a mechanic.
Oscar 97.
Text ko
Oscar
lang.
97. May number na
Hindi
yung ano mo,
pala
sasakyan
to
mo?
mechanic.
Oh,
Meron na siya.
Ay,
Okay, you
Pasco,
go what
may
the
mechanic,
name of
diba?
car 97 na, hindi na yung call sign mo.
Alright.
Car
Car
97.
97. Kaya kapag magre-radio ka,
Oo, car 97
car
na.
97.
Ano na. Then, Henry, ikaw anong call sign mo ulit?
35.
35?
Yeah.
Okay,
35.
go by car 35. Sino yung ano mo, kasama mo?
Si Frank ata tong nasa likod ko.
Frank. Okay, sige. Kuha na kayo ng ano? Kuha na kayo ng
Sige.
sasakyan niyo. Tapos, sinong...
Ito pa isa, si Arturo ba isa? Ano? Ang pangalan? Tama ba?
May sasakyan ka ba, sir?
Tara,
Ilalabas
Frank.
ko ba cruiser ko?
De, ganito na lang. Kunin mo yung cruiser mo, tapos ibalik natin mamaya. Kasi kukunin ko yung cruiser ko nasa sa impound. Kunin mo muna yung sa'yo, tapos mamaya ibalik natin dito yung cruiser mo. Need lang ng vehicle. Ba't nakalagay 84?
Ang dating cruiser pala to.
Fox at
Wait lang,
22,
bababa pala ako.
Senior Officer EE.
And 4, go ahead, sir.
Baba ka dito sa garage.
10 4.
Ano tayo? Impound. Oops.
User left your channel.
Alright, sige. Okay na yun. And how low?
Car 35, 1076 to impound.
Kailangan na pala ng maintenance to, officer.
Nakpo po. O sige, maintenance natin sa kailangan kasi magkaroon na ng sticker yung sa'yo.
Nga eh. Parang
Bakit
unmarked
pa
vehicle pa din yung cruiser ko.
O para magamit mo na lagi, di ba?
Nga eh, literal na unmarked to eh. Bigat na.
Bigat?
Bigat ng cruiser ko.
Nagbaba ako.
User disconnected from your channel.
Charlie level
User joined your
11 to
channel.
all units. I'm giving away bonus now.
RTB. RTB. Dali, bonus.
27. Nandiyan yung car 27.
Oh, nice.
Sick, you guys.
Start.
Patrol na yun ako.
Pasto.
Ano, Drake?
This car
Understood.
27 patrolling around the city.
Thanks to daw sa kanya.
Car 66, 10-8.
51. Chief Mayor.
Lapit, lapit.
Ngayon, Drake.
Hindi, patrol na ako.
Ah.
Tara.
9393. 93. Naku po.
Pwede sa amin, bilang ko 13.
93.
Cap, may umulit, Cap.
O hindi ah. Walang
Oh,
umulit.
thank you.
Next.
Sino pumila ng umulit?
Kasi pa ako maglakad tayo, mga.
Ba yan? Grabe ka naman.
Receptor yun, ah.
Lamumaan.
Ayos yun ah. Ah, okay. May top 10 pala yun.
Car 97 to dispatch, we are roaming around the city.
Change car tayo.
Pwede bang
Mag-
pa-deposit
ano tayo?
muna tayo? Clara.
Sa akong kotse.
Ah, okay. Nabigyan ba siya yung susi?
Ah, yes. Yung nagpaputok ata, yung naka-jugular.
Yung kanina.
Car 66 patrolling South Los Santos.
Kanina
Wala,
pa
wala.
sila sa taco shop eh.
Ah, nakita mo na siya. Kasi may isa yata magre-report. Ay, kasi na ba tayo?
Hindi ka muna tayo, may nakawag ko 10,000 dito.
Anyone has call sign 43?
I'm liking it.
Ah,